Okay, whoa, just slow down, everybody, all right? Just stop for a moment, okay? Stop the YouTube presses. I gotta talk about something. Because YouTube runs on presses, very clearly. Actually, you know what? Maybe it does. I've been on this platform for just 13 years. I have no idea how this operates any more than you. My best guess is that there is a magic penguin somewhere that takes your videos and uploads them to the internet, but that's like the best I have. I really don't know. More research needs to be done. But no, so last year I made 2 videos. I made a 2-part series talking about what would happen if Luffy recruited a new member of the Straw Hats in every single arc of One Piece, okay? And I'll link them up here in a card, but those are really fun videos to make, and as you can imagine, given the fact of how many arcs there are in One Piece, we ended up with a lot of Straw Hats at the end of it. I think it was like over 30 characters or something ended up on the Straw Hat crew. Anyway, there was an artist that said that they were going to make a piece of art, like a drawing of every single Straw Hat that I said in that video in one scene, and I was just looking through my emails last night, and I found it, and I can't for the life of me remember if I ever showed this piece of art on the channel, so just here it is. I just want to showcase that really quick because I couldn't remember. I probably did at some point, but whatever. This is an epic piece of artwork by Mindspill Creations. This is all of the Straw Hats from if Luffy recruited somebody from every single arc of the story. You got Laboon there, you got Boodle and Chow Chow from Orange Town, all the regular Straw Hats are there, but then there's just so many other people. So I just wanted to showcase that off before we got into the actual video today. Okay, so getting to it, today we're talking about fire, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes, I really shouldn't be around fire, especially what happened last time. Why do you think I had to change houses? Yeah, Mom never really forgave me for that one. But anyway, no. Today, we're talking about the symbolism of fire, the metaphor that involves fire. Oh yes. Citrus. Okay. So if you may or may not have noticed, in this recent arc, not just in the battle we're in right now in Onigashima, but this entire arc, flames and fire and heat and the sun have been sort of relevant in a lot of ways. Now, of course, characters have used fire abilities before this. Look at Ace, and then Sabo. Luffy had his Red Hawk way back at the beginning of the time skip, you know, right at Fishman Island. Luffy had his Red Hawk and everything like that. But if you look at Wano, and if you really break it down, it is going overdrive here with showcasing all of these fire and heat abilities. I think in the last chapter, that was really just the slap in the face most of us needed. Like, Oda's going somewhere with this. It's not just like this character has a fire ability just because they have a fire ability. No, it's just like, no, this is something important. Pay attention to this. This is going to be relevant for later on in the story, okay? So on top of Luffy's normal fire abilities like Red Hawk, he also showed off a brand new technique called Red Rock, which was just showcased in one of the last episodes of the anime. Looked fantastic, okay? So that was like a giant fist lit on fire. Then you have Sanji's ability, the Diable Jambe, which evolved into Ifrit Jambe in this arc, which is an even hotter flame that actually burns blue now instead of red and yellow, so the blue flames look really cool. Can't wait to see that in the anime. Queen was even questioning, like, is Sanji a Lunarian? How exactly can Sanji light his leg on fire? That was something so weird that actually got addressed in this arc, you know? I thought it was always just going to be a thing where it's like, yeah, Sanji can light his leg on fire. Who cares? Don't question it. It's fine. It's One Piece. It's probably hockey involved in some way. But no, Queen is like, nah, that's not hockey. How are you lighting your leg on fire? It's because of your Germa modifications, right? Okay. So, Queen even brings up at one point, like, oh, you're not a Lunarian, right? Oh, no, you're not. Okay. And so that leads into King, a brand new character in the Wano arc, as we can see back here in this fabulous Victorian-era painting that was done by Stefan. I'll show it up here because you can see it a little bit better. Oh, my God, it's so glorious, right? So King, being introduced in this arc, also introduced the Lunarians to us, and King is apparently the only Lunarian that still exists. Who knows? There might be still some more out there somewhere, but he has the ability to manipulate fire. He can control fire. He can not breathe it, oddly enough, but he can, like, summon fire from his hands and his legs, and he has flames on his back, okay? And then he has his ultimate technique, which is summoning a giant flaming dragon, and then an even bigger giant flaming dragon. the Omori Karyudon. You know, he can light his sword on fire. And then you have the scenes with Zoro there, who's fighting against him, you could say Zoro is using like the flames of hell or something, you know, because Enma is the guardian of hell, and a lot of times you see like this black fire around Enma in like various depictions. So you could say like when he's jumping out and Zoro's like, I'm the king of the hill, the king of hell. You could say that like maybe he's mastered the flames of the underworld or something, a little bit more symbolically there, right? Or he's cutting through King's flames with his own flames, all right? So we have that. Queen himself was able to fire off like laser beams and fire there, so that's relevant. You could say that because of Orochi taking over Wano and all of the deforestations, the idea that most of Wano is just this blank, desolate wasteland where the sun just beats down constantly, sterilizing the earth, you know. It's very hot, it's very miserable there in a lot of regions of the land. It's just an empty wasteland. That could be relevant. Going into the sun, now we get the big ones, the reference that Who's Who made to the sun god Nika during his fight with Jinbei, this sun deity that was the hero and the savior, the beacon of hope for all of the slaves of the world. Then we find out the big revelation, spoiler alert, that Luffy, of course, does not have the Gumu Gumu no Mi. His fruit's actual name is the Hito Hito no Mi mythical variant model Nika. All right, so Luffy has the sun god fruit. Then we have Kaido, who has the ability to fire, you know, laser beams of fire, the Boro Breath, and in the very last chapter, chapter 1048, he showed that power on the next level by becoming the Boro Breath. He, like, covers his entire body with flames, and then he attacks Luffy's ultimate attack, the Monkey King Gun, or Monkey God Gun, with that form. A form so hot and so powerful that it could even melt apart the fossilized bone rock of Onigashima, of Muffin Mountain, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay? It's really freaking hot. And those are just the ones that pop up in my mind, like, oh, the Kanzenbo! The freaking Kanzenbo! It's everywhere! Fire is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen! Look at the flame. Oda's trying to tell us something. Let's listen to find out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you hear what the fire's saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, no, we don't want to spoil the entire story there. That flame was about to tell us what the One Piece was for a moment there. Also, Dawn, the arrival of the dawn of the new era, that was something that Pedro talked a lot about during Totland, but also the idea that you can't have the dawn without the sun. Luffy's the sun god. All right, so yeah, we have that. So I'll talk about Kaido's new form just very briefly, because this sort of goes beyond that, but the form was really cool, so I want to talk about that for a moment. So something else I missed, is that if you go and look at the form when Kaido transforms into the giant dragon, he actually is inside of it. So you can actually see an image like a smaller dragon inside of the larger dragon. So the best explanation I have for this is that Kaido is just having complete control over his Boro Breath. He can just like summon the Boro Breath and then wrap it around his dragon body, so then he makes like another dragon visage on the outskirts of his body while his main body is inside, and he's controlling it sort of like a puppet, and his real body can, fend off the heat because he's a dragon after all. Other than that, or Kaido just has the straight up ability to regurgitate lava and magma now. Wait a second. When it's under the ground, lava's called magma, but what is it called when it comes out of a dragon's mouth? Is it lava or is it magma? I want to say it's lava, but I don't know. Because, there's a lot of scenes here, especially when Kaido is clashing with Luffy. It kind of does look like there's magma just spewing out of Kaido, and Luffy's hitting him, and it's just this giant explosion in the sky, so maybe, whatever. But that's basically what Kaido is doing, okay? He's transforming the outside of his body into this giant, even bigger dragon that can, like, contend with Luffy's giant fist, all right? That's the situation there. The few different translations of it are Flaming Drum Dragon, Great Blazing Dragon Torch, it sounds like Heian Daiko, which is a classic Rakugo tale. Now, I have not read the Rakugo tale, but for those of you that don't know what Rakugo is, it's like a Japanese form of storytelling. It's not really poetry. It's just a very professional setting where you have a stage and somebody comes out in like very traditional Japanese garb, sits down on the stage, and just recites a story, but it's done in a very particular way. Very few props are allowed. I think actually the only prop allowed is like a fan, like a folding Japanese fan. And the person will basically just sit on stage and play all of the characters. Usually there's like 2 or 3 characters that will have speaking roles. So it's basically a form of storytelling with the most minimal amount of props and things around you to make it work, where you only have a fan and yourself. You're not allowed to stand up and act out the scenes. You are sitting down and you're just with the fan and the turning. I think you're only allowed to turn your head in various ways, and the change of your pitch and the tone of your voice and your facial expressions, and that's like, and then the fan, and that's all you're allowed to use to tell these stories. So I have not read this particular one, but that just gives you an idea of what Rakugo is, okay? It's like a very minimalistic, traditional form of Japanese storytelling. Does that make sense? Well, whatever. Maybe we'll talk about it later in another day. So Luffy is clashing with this dragon right now. Now, when Luffy was about to punch him initially, he grabbed onto Kaido so that he could not move, okay? Like he dodged the lightning bolt. After Kaido turned into this giant flaming dragon torch, it was so hot, Luffy had to let go, and he was even blowing on his hands like, oh, that was hot. That was really, really hot. Okay, Kaido, why are you so hot? It's just like, because I'm Kaido of the Beast, kid. Just like, I didn't ask to be this hot. This is just how I am. It's like, okay, damn. But the idea is like, okay, if Luffy is a sun god, and I talked about this in a previous video, but if Luffy is the sun god, will he learn some ability to shake off flames? It was in the Admiral video. That was the video I made, and I should have honestly waited until after this chapter to make the Admiral video if Luffy could take down the Admirals now, because Kaido is kind of legitimately using lava, magma, fire, really, really intense heat techniques against Luffy, which is kind of a parallel to Akainu. A lot of people have been making that similarity there. Maybe Luffy could take down Akainu now, right? Wait, here's a question. No. We're not even talking about Luffy right now. If Kaido went into this flaming dragon form, would he be able to best Akainu? I would argue in a one-on-one fight, even then, Kaido would still probably have a pretty good shot at defeating Akainu, just one-on-one. But if he goes into this giant flaming dragon form, he might become, like, immune to Akainu's magma straight up, and then he would win. And so that was what I was kind of talking about in that video with Luffy fighting all the admirals. Like, Luffy's a sun god. If he could somehow develop the ability to either manipulate flames and lava or become immune to them, I think he takes less damage than he normally would, because Kaido's tail just scraping up against Onigashima was enough to melt the damn thing. Meanwhile, Luffy just, like, he gets, like, lightly scalded, like if he touched a hot pan on the stove and he's like, that's hot. Under normal circumstances, you think Luffy's hand would just get melted off in that situation, but it's still there. Same thing with Luffy taking all those Boro breaths. Like, Luffy takes all these Boro breaths, like, point blank in his Gear 5th, and he's, like, turns, like, black as charcoal, and he just kind of shakes it off like a cartoon character, and he, jumps back into the battle, right? So, he's taking damage from this, but you would say it's less damage than he would if he was not in Gear 5th, or if it was just a regular human. Like, a regular human would be, like, melted right here. I guess you could say armament hockey is protecting him a bit, but I like to think there's something else going on here involving the sun god fruit, okay? Since we made such a big hullabaloo about him having the sun god fruit, possibly something new relating to that is going to show up here, okay? So, like I said, Luffy just has this power. He just awakened it, like 10, 15 minutes ago in the context of the One Piece world or whatever, right? So, it's very likely that Luffy is still learning new techniques, stuff he can do with this power. So he might train with it a little bit, and he might get to the point where fire causes him no damage. It's not that he just takes less damage, he takes no damage, or he can maybe even absorb fire to make himself even stronger. How would that be a kicker to take down Kaido? His giant fist is coming at Kaido, Kaido's clashing in this giant flaming dragon form, and then Luffy, I don't know, he comes to like some sudden realization, he enters the Avatar state. By the way, this is unrelated to One Piece, but I just finished rewatching Avatar, and I watched Sozin's Comet last night, and I was just like, that's more fire! Look at all that fire! By the way, what was Ozai's plan? Seriously, Ozai's plan at the end of Avatar, spoiler alert for Avatar, it's a show that's been over for like almost 14, 15 years, but Ozai's plan was during Sozin's Comet, he was going to take like 10 airships and burn down the entire Earth Kingdom in the span of, like, I don't know, the 20, 30 minutes that Sozin's comment was. Ozai's plan made no sense when you actually stop to think about it. Whatever. The whole point of Ozai's character at the beginning and then the end of the day was just to, you know, have a moral dilemma for Aang, you know, to actually kill somebody that is pretty much as the devil, like as straight up as evil as you can get in the Avatar world. It wasn't really so much focused on character development. We didn't really even spend that much time with the Fire Lord. It was more of just a moral dilemma for Aang. But whatever. Okay, so that's my Avatar tangent, but just like, fire everywhere, okay? Go rewatch Avatar. All right, so if Luffy is up there and he learns some way to, like, wait a second, this flame, I thought it was really hot and it was burning me, but it's funny, I actually feel like if I let the flames wash over me, it won't hurt. And so maybe Luffy just allows Kaido's flames to wash over him, and then it's just like, boom! And then he just, like, knocks the flames back, or maybe he absorbs the fire off of Kaido, so it, like, rips off his flaming dragon form, and then it's just regular Kaido underneath, regular dragon Kaido, and he's like, what? How did you do that? And just like, because I'm the sun god. And it's just like, he just brings it down, and that's how Kaido's defeated. Luffy wouldn't say that because he doesn't know he's the sun god, but that'd be really cool. That would be a 90s action movie finisher, because I'm the sun god. Just like, that's how it ends. I have something I want to read to you guys. All right. We have my giant book on signs and symbols. I love this book. All right. So, as you can imagine, fire has been extremely relevant to humans since, you know, ever. I think the first example of humans or ancestor of humans harnessing fire, I mean, it's a long time ago, okay? I know we picture, like, a bunch of, like, cavemen, maybe, like, you know, 50, 60,000 years ago, huddling around in some cave in Europe developing fire. It was actually way earlier than that. It was, I think, around 1.5 million years ago is the first fossil records that we're finding in caves of campfires. So we go into caves, you know, which, you know, we have, like, evidence for, like, oh, here's cave paintings and cave art, and humans were living in these caves, or ancestors of humans were living in these caves millions of years ago. And they dig around and they find, like, traces of, like, oh, there was a fire in this cave. Like, there were campfires in here, okay? So we're talking over 1 million years ago that humans began to harness fire, so it's obviously a very important thing. So in my Signs and Symbology book, I have a very large section on fire in all its different ways and how it relates to different forms of religion and culture and everything like that. So, and like volcanoes. So let me just read to you a few things here that I highlighted, okay? So this is just the first reading. Or I could read you this. This is a quote from the Buddha. Yeah, Tekking101 is quoting the Buddha. Man, this is a professional show. Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. That was deep. Whoa, Buddha, that was deep. I loved you in Record of Ragnarok, by the way, Buddha. You were epic. Okay. All right, so here we go. Fire, more than any other of the 4 basic elements, has the power to create and the power to destroy. That sort of ties in right now. I mean, that's probably the most, like, overt way you can look at it right now, where Kaido is in the form of fire looking to destroy all of Wano, turn it into a pirate paradise, ruin everybody's life, enslave everyone. Meanwhile, Luffy has the power of a sun god and is looking to free and to create life in this sense, okay? Fire is symbolic, too, of the spirit and of life itself. We speak of the spark of life as though it were a form of fire. Spark of life. Yeah, you can kind of see that there in One Piece, you know? You could even kind of see that with the Maramara no Mi. Like, it's a torch or the spark of life, like Ace's life, that is passed on to Sabo to, like, carry on his will. The inherited will in One Piece in general could be read as the spark of life, or something of the spark of maybe ambition would be maybe a better translation of that, given in One Piece's context. But you can definitely see it. This is a good one right here. We may be baptized in water, but we also speak of a baptism of fire. Has anybody out there heard that expression? A few times I've heard it, a baptism by fire. This implies a difficult ordeal or initiation that happens speedily and effectively, leading to enlightenment after purification. So, baptism by fire, maybe something a little bit more intense. speedy, like, I don't know, maybe fighting a giant blazing dragon on top of a skull mountain that's floating in the middle of the sky over feudal Japan. That might be sort of like baptism by fire, Luffy's baptism by fire right there. And he's even said it before. It's like, if I fail here, all of Wano falls. All of the samurai have said that. Hyogoro has said that. They know the repercussions on if Luffy fails, okay? And so Luffy has to do this. This is a trial. This is an initiation by him, okay? There's a few more scenes here I just want to read. Fire comes from... Oh, this is a good one. Fire comes from heaven because it goes up. You know, the flames go up. Water comes from the earth because it comes down as rain. So this is one that I'm kind of stretching a little bit here, but I just want to bring up my thoughts on this, okay? So Luffy would obviously be fire in this context. He's in the sky, in the heavens, bringing down this giant fist to defeat Kaido. Now, Kaido also represents fire, but he also takes the form of a Chinese dragon, an Azure dragon, which in a lot of Eastern lore and mythology, a Chinese dragon actually does originally symbolize water more than it does fire. Fire for dragons is something that's a little bit more of a Western sort of context, like a Western dragon breathing fire, more like Arthurian lore and stuff like that. Now, of course, clearly Kaido does not have any ability that we've seen so far to breathe water. He breathes fire and lightning, which could be seen as an extension of fire, or I guess fire could be seen as an extension of lightning because lightning strikes the ground and creates fire. Wind blades and stuff he can summon, which the wind can strengthen fire. I learned that from Naruto, yeah. So, there's not a lot of references to water, but like just in terms of him being a Chinese dragon in terms of appearance, you could take the reference to maybe water versus fire there. It's sort of tentative, but that's what I, arrived at. And then finally, the last line I want to read to you is, the nature of fire lies in its constant movement, never stopping for a moment until it runs out of fuel, always advancing, always moving forward, never stopping. I don't think I need to go into further detail on how that is perfectly representative of Luffy's character, all right? That's been thrown at us plenty of times throughout the story, okay? So, fire! in summation, to bring it up in an abridged sense, fire is hot! This is the final clash between Luffy and Kaido. I really don't see Oda doing this in a way where, like, Luffy and Kaido clash, and then this moment ends, and then the fight still continues. Now, this clash of them in the sky might go on for the next chapter, might be like one of those beam struggles in Dragon Ball Z that I've heard about. It might be something like that. But this is it. This is the final clash right here. We got a blazing Bagara with Kaido in this flaming dragon form representing despair and destruction, and then Luffy in this almighty sun god Gear 5th awakening form bringing down the Monkey King gun, which is in of itself a reference to Son Wukong from Journey to the West. Clashing together in the sky over the flower capital. Oh, the Fire Festival. Man, I missed that one. Well, I didn't miss it. I got it at the end. I know somebody at the beginning was like, when I was listing off all those references, there's a lot. Do you see my point? Do you see my point where I forgot to mention the Fire Festival, which has fire in its damn name because there's so many references to fire in this damn arc. There's probably a lot more that I missed. You can point at pretty much, here's one. Sumo Inferno. Queen Sumo Inferno from the Udon prison. There's another one. It's freaking everywhere. Seriously, you will drive yourself insane, okay? You'll be like that meme. You'll be like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the giant board and all the different strings attached to it. Just like, fire. There's fire everywhere. Fire! All right, so I'm just going to end the video there before I go crazy. Ace and Luffy, fire! Okay, anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think down below on all my crazy references to fire and what it means in the greater context of One Piece and what you think about the symbolism. Oh, there's one more page I bookmarked. This wasn't so much fire in like a literal context. This is the Tomoe. Right here, this symbol. I'm sure you've seen this symbol before. Also, Naruto reference. It's the symbol of the Sharingan. The tomoe means turning or circle, and the symbol shows 2, 3, or 4 comma-like shapes making a spiral. These shapes are emblematic of flames, hence the symbol is sometimes called the fire wheel. Also why the Uchiha in Naruto use fire nature chakra mainly. It belongs to both Shinto and Buddhist faiths and can be seen in temples of both denominations. It was also used in Japanese samurai heraldry. The tomoe with 2 flames looks very like a yin-yang symbol and symbolizes the same concepts. Okay, so yeah, I just want to bring that up because we're talking about One Piece, which is Japanese, and there's a lot of religious references, in terms like Shintoism, Buddhism, and stuff like that. So that's the tomoe there. I think we've seen that image. That was the image that was on Eneru's drums. I think that was the most overt way we've seen the tomoe patterns in One Piece. We probably have seen it at some point throughout Wano. Oda probably snuck it in somewhere, but that's what I mean. There's just so much. There's so much. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. So we're not doing the new animal facts today. I've already decided which animal I'm going to pick for the letter H, okay? It's not hippos, but I do want to give you one hippo fact, okay? So this isn't the new episode of Animal Facts. We're not doing hippo facts. This is just a singular fact about hippos. Does everybody understand that? Okay, so the not hippo fact, animal fact is this. All right, there's a bunch of hippos down in Colombia, and it's becoming a problem, okay? Now, you might be asking, how did an animal from Africa, which is not native to, like, the Americas, how did that get to South America in Colombia so there could be so many hippos in Colombia? There's a problem. Well, the answer is drug lords. Yeah, Pablo Escobar. Remember that dude? Pablo Escobar, really famous, or infamous, I should say, drug lord, pretty much the master of, like, the cocaine trade back in, like, the 70s and 80s up till the 90s when he was captured, and then he'd eventually died in 1993. Same year I was born, as a matter of fact. So anyway, he was this rich dude that had, like, compound and everything in Colombia because he's a drug lord, and he decided, like, I want some hippos. So they brought 4 hippos over from Africa that he had in, like, this private zoo in his compound, and then the government raided it, of course, and then, took them in and everything, and then, the compound was basically just left there, and they didn't really have the means or the inclination to move the hippos or do anything with them, so the hippos just escaped and then just started breeding like crazy, and now there's hippos all around Colombia, and it's actually a serious problem because hippos eat a lot of stuff, and so it's causing issues around there. So yeah, there's hippos in Colombia because of cocaine drug lords. That's just the intro. That's pretty much the only major hippo fact I wanted to say. So now we can move on to the actual H fact, which is going to be, actually, you know what? I'll tell you later. Later, everybody.